Behind me, I have the Nomad 2 and the Nomad 2X from Velotric. Now these fat tire e-bikes may be from the same line, but adding that X on the end of the 2 really does change up the equation quite a bit. So let's start with the Nomad 2. It has all the performance that you'd want out of a fat tire e-bike, but it comes in a super comfortable cruiser style build. So it has sweptback handlebars and an adjustable stem so you can dial in an upright riding posture, and it comes with a dual suspension setup. So it has an RST hydraulic suspension fork up front, and then it has a high quality suspension seat post on the rear. And then you have the Nomad 2X, and that X stands for extra. So you're getting extra power, extra range, extra hauling capability, as well as extra suspension because this has a true full suspension setup. You have an air fork up front and an air shock in the rear, and that means you can really dial in that suspension to respond to your weight and the terrain that you're going over. So in this video, we're going to get into the finer details of what these bikes have in common, what sets them apart. We'll also take both of them out to test their performance on and off road. And then at the end, we will wrap things up with some pros and cons and my overall thoughts. But before all that, let's take a closer look. I usually like to start out by laying a foundation of what these bikes have in common. And we'll start with Velotric, the brand. They're an omni-channel brand, which means you can opt for doorstep delivery or take advantage of their dealer network. They've partnered with over 1,000 bike shops in the US, which means it's likely you can find a location near you for test rides, buying fully assembled and in-person support. If you do opt for doorstep delivery, the bikes always arrive very nicely packaged, and they send you with all the tools you need for assembly. And for some peace of mind, Velotric offers a 2-year warranty on their bikes. They lead the industry in water and dust resistance, with their bikes being IPX6 rated and their batteries being IPX7 rated, which means if your battery takes a bath, you can dry it off and pop it back in that bike and it will still work. And all Velotric models are certified to UL standards. That's for the bikes as well as the batteries. So now for more of the similarities between these two specific models, you're going to have a similar lighting package. So it has the same bright IPX6 rated headlight up front and same brake actuated taillight with turn signals. Both have Velotric's Comfort Max system or all the same ergonomic touch points. So the same adjustable stem with 60 degrees of adjustment, ergonomic lock-on grips, Velotric's extra wide comfort saddle, which is super comfortable. They both come in a step through or step over frame. They both feature the same 3.5-inch color LCD display, 3 different riding modes with 5 levels of pedal assist in each mode. That's a total of 15 levels of pedal assist. Also, the display is very user-friendly and all the customization settings are within the display. Both come with sensor swap, which means you can ride with a torque or cadence sensor. You can also hot swap them while riding. And both have app connectivity, and Velotric app is very straightforward and easy to use. It's a great tool if you want to see the state of all of your settings on one page, but I think the biggest advantage has to be the over-the-air firmware updates because these bikes actually get better with time. Velotric a couple times has surprised us with huge firmware updates that actually change the way that you ride these bikes. And for iPhone users, both bikes feature Apple Find My. They both have the same Shimano drivetrain with a Shimano Acera derailleur. It's an 8-speed setup with 11 to 40 teeth on the rear cassette and a double-walled 48-tooth chainring, and the same Tektro-hydraulic brake setup with 2-piston Tektro-hydraulic disc brakes. It has a 203mm rotor up front, a more standard 180mm rotor in the rear, and both sport the same 26 by 4-inch Kenda fat tires, super knobby tread, front wheels are bolt-on, and the same mounting points around the bike for a front basket or a bottle cage, perhaps the best bottle cage on the market that we sell at shop.ebikeescape.com. And there are other small similarities, like they have the same pedals, kickstand, both come with included fenders and a rear rack, but this is where things start to change. Let's get into what set these bikes apart, starting with price. The Nomad 2 comes in at $19.99 and the Nomad 2X comes in at $23.99. Now that is the current pricing, but things do change, sales do happen, so if you want to check current information, you can scan the QR code on your screen or find our affiliate link down in the description. And just a quick reminder, if you plan on purchasing a model from Velotric and you want to support our channel at no extra cost to you, if you use our affiliate link when you go to make your purchase, it's a great way to do so. It really makes content like this possible. Thank you so much for your support. Also check below in the description for our discount code so you can save on your next Velotric model. For color options, the Nomad 2 is offered in midnight blue, cranberry, and olive, which you see here. The color options on the Nomad 2X seems to change up every once in a while. Right now you can get the Nomad 2X in fig and sage, which you see here today. Or if you spend $100 more, they do have a multi-cam option, which looks pretty cool. Next, let's talk about the frame differences. Now, I mentioned both have a step through and step over option, but on the Nomad 2, you actually get size options. So it comes in regular and large, so you can get a little bit more tailored fit. That said, the Nomad 2X actually fits a wider range of riders, all the way down from 4'11" up to 6'5", and depending on the frame size you choose for the Nomad 2, it fits riders from 5'2" all the way up to 6'5". The payload capacity of the Nomad 2 comes in at 505 pounds, so pretty massive. 560-pound capacity on the Nomad 2X. The Nomad 2 has an advertised weight of 75 pounds, and the extra capability also means this is going to be a little bit extra heavy at 80 pounds for the advertised weight. But let's hang these bikes from our scale to see what they actually weigh. So without the battery, but with the fenders and the rear rack, the Nomad 2 comes in just under 72 pounds. And the Nomad 2X without the battery, but with the included accessories, is coming in just under 75 pounds. It's a little difficult to see on camera, but the Nomad 2X is actually quite a bit longer than the Nomad 2. The actual wheelbase depends on what frame style you choose, but on the Nomad 2, you're looking at around 48.5 inches from wheel to wheel, and the Nomad 2X is closer to 52.5 inches wheel to wheel. Now let's cover the differences in suspension. This is the Nomad 2 with the RST hydraulic suspension fork up front. You have some control over the response with the preload adjustment on the left side here. You can also incrementally or fully lock out the suspension here. And here's what that suspension looks like. And this is the SP5 suspension seat post. It has 50 millimeters of travel, and here's what that looks like. You can also adjust the preload on the bottom of the seat post here. Then on the Nomad 2X, we have the Fat Air suspension fork from Trauma. Now this is the fork with that full air adjustability. So here's the chart that tells you what PSI to set it to, depending on the weight range you're in. You'll find the air valve underneath this cap on the left side. You can also incrementally lock out this suspension on the right side here. And then at the bottom here, we have a rebound adjust. Here's what you can expect from the Nomad 2X's front suspension. And then this is where that DNM rear air shock lives. It also has the weight to PSI chart. Here's the valve cover right here. Now this has 80 millimeters of wheel travel. And here's what you can expect from that. To accurately adjust the air suspension to the higher PSI needed, you'll want to pick up a shock pump. A standard pump simply isn't precise enough to handle the high pressure required. I put an Amazon link in the description to the Toe Peak model shown here. It usually runs between $30 and $35. Next difference is going to be the hauling capability. So we already covered the total payload capacity, but they also have different sized racks. So both racks are MIC HD compatible and have pannier hangers on the side. The Nomad 2 has a 66-pound capacity for its rear rack, and you're going to have a much longer rack on the Nomad 2X. You actually get an additional MIC mounting point for maybe a larger MIC accessory, or just pushing an accessory up closer to the saddle. You're almost doubling the weight capacity at 120 pounds. For motor power, the Nomad 2 has a 750 watt motor with a 1300 watt peak, and it offers 90 newton meters of torque. And coming in with a little extra power, it's still a 750 watt motor, but it peaks at 1400 watts and offers 15 more newton meters of torque at 105 newton meters total. You're also going to see a difference in battery power. The Nomad 2 comes standard with a 14.4 amp hour battery as compared to a 16.7 amp hour battery on the Nomad 2X. So you can expect a little bit more range on the Nomad 2X. Both bikes are paired with a 3 amp fast charger from Velotric, so you can expect the charging time to be a little bit longer from empty on the Nomad 2X as well. Now this last feature on the Nomad 2X really shows you who Velotric thinks this bike is for, and that feature is going to be stealth mode, first option here. So it will lower your top speed or essentially lower that peak power, so your motor is going to be quieter, The lights are going to turn off, and Velotric includes this green flashlight. Both bikes have an advertised towing capacity of 1,000 pounds. Now you're going to have that little extra bit of power on the Nomad 2X. Now I don't have a lot of experience towing a ton of weight behind my bike. My brain immediately jumps to how hard would it be to stop? If you have any experience towing a ton of weight behind an electric bike, maybe you can comment down below and let us know your experience. So that's really it for the similarities and differences, at least on paper. Let's see how that translates to the real world and head out for some performance tests. Of course, specs on a page are one thing, but we need to see how that power translates to the real world. We put both bikes through our standard battery of tests, starting with acceleration. In our throttle-only acceleration test, the Nomad 2 reached 20 miles per hour in a timely 8 seconds. But this is where we really start to see the extra muscle of the Nomad 2X, which shaved a couple seconds off that time. With the full throttle speed unlocked, which we recommend for riding on private property, both bikes are capable of throttling all the way up to 28 miles per hour. While the Nomad 2X gets you there a little faster, the Nomad 2 also had no problem pushing you to that max speed and holding you there. We saw similar results with the acceleration while pedaling, but the big takeaway here is the gearing. On both models, Velotric nailed the gear ratio. It's well suited for easy starts, yet you can still maintain a comfortable cadence at top speed. Next up, the hill climb, and this is where the torque figures usually reveal themselves. On our test hill using throttle only, the Nomad 2's performance was impressive. With me on the bike, a 200-pound rider, I hit a minimum climbing speed of 11.5 miles per hour. But what stood out was once I hit that low point, it actually picked speed back up, averaging 12 to 13 miles per hour for the rest of the climb. We tested the Nomad 2X on the same hill with Ryan riding. Now, to be fair, Ryan weighs about 60 pounds less than me, but the performance gap was still undeniable. He hit a minimum climbing speed of 17 miles per hour and maintained 17 to 18 miles per hour for the entire climb. Even accounting for the rider weight difference, the Nomad 2X is a powerhouse on the slopes. As for ride feel, on pavement, both bikes feel fantastic. The high power output completely masks the weight of these fat tire builds, making them feel surprisingly nimble on the street. It's once you head off-road that the personalities diverge. The suspension seat post on the Nomad 2 does a great job of protecting your back, but you do feel the impact of bumps through the frame before the suspension kicks in. In contrast, the Nomad 2X's full suspension creates a totally different experience. It isolates you from the terrain much more effectively, giving you that floating sensation over roots and rocks that you just can't get with a hardtail. Now that we've seen how they handle power and terrain, let's break down the overall pros and cons and help you decide which one is right for you. So which of these heavy-duty fat tire e-bikes is the right tool for the job? Let's break down the pros and cons, starting with what they share. Both the Nomad 2 and Nomad 2X are built on a very solid foundation. Velotric clearly prioritizes user experience, starting with the 3.5-inch color LCD display, which remains one of our favorites for clarity and ease of use. That ease extends to the ride quality itself. You get 15 levels of pedal assist split across 3 riding modes, giving you fine-tuned control over the motor. The inclusion of sensor swap is a standout feature, allowing you to switch between a cadence and torque sensor. This means you can choose between a natural, responsive pedaling feel or easy, consistent power depending on your mood. On the tech side, the integration of Apple Find My is a practical addition for iPhone users, and the Velotric app is straightforward and actually useful, offering over-the-air firmware updates to keep the bike current. Mechanically, they got the fundamentals right. The gearing setup is wide enough to help you climb steep hills while maintaining pedal resistance at top speed. Plus, as an omni-channel brand, you have the security of a network of over 1,000 dealers for buying fully assembled and in-person support. Now, looking specifically at the Nomad 2, its identity is defined by comfort. The cruiser-style design is unique to the fat tire category, especially at the $2,000 price point. It allows for a relaxed, upright posture that distinguishes itself from the competition. While it lacks a rear shock, the inclusion of a suspension seat post does a great job of smoothing out the ride without adding the heft and complexity of a full suspension setup. Performance is still top tier with a motor peaking at 1,300 watts, and the payload capacity is massive at 505 pounds, well above average. The MIC HD rack is another highlight, ready for quick swap accessories and compatible with Thule child seats. And the main consideration for this model is the battery at 14.7 amp hours is adequate for most daily riding, but we would have really loved to see a 20 amp hour option available for those longer excursions. Moving to the Nomad 2X, this is where you go for utility and rougher terrain. The motor is tuned for higher output, peaking at 1400 watts. That adds an extra 15 newton meters of torque compared to the Nomad 2. It also bumps up the battery capacity to 16.7 amp hours, and while that's an improvement, we think a bike this capable deserves an even larger battery option. The standout feature is the full suspension. It provides a floating sensation over bumps, and because it's air rather than coil, you can dial in the pressure to match your exact weight. The frame is reinforced to handle an enormous 560-pound payload, and it comes with a longer rear rack that's rated for 120 pounds. It also includes niche features like stealth mode for hunters. There are trade-offs though. The price jumps to $23.99 or $24.99 for that camo finish. Remember, we have a discount code in the description, and if you plan on purchasing, using our links helps make content like this possible. Thank you for the support. The Nomad 2 is one of our favorite fat tire options to date simply because it balances capability with comfort so well. If you want a confidence-inspiring ride with an upright cruiser posture that you can ride comfortably all day, we think this one is the one to get. The Nomad 2X is the choice for the outdoors person or the heavy-duty user. If you plan on tackling rougher trails, hunting, or hauling heavy gear, the extra torque, robust rack, and customizable air suspension make it the better tool for the job. If you enjoyed this review, please hit that like button and consider subscribing for more e-bike content like this. I'm Miles with eBike Escape. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.